they are choosing to go down this route, though, and right away. And, J.D. Vance, when he says that Kamala Harris hasn't shown gratitude to America, I mean, not only is that a ridiculously broad allegation, but it does sort of, I mean, it rings of, it doesn't sound good. I mean, I mean, do you think that's a wise, does that make sense to you as an argument, Scott?
That's pretend CNN journalist and malfunctioning liberal NPC Anderson Cooper struggling to manufacture an argument as to why Trump and J.D. Vance attacking Kamala Harris is wrong. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and the paid propagandists and establishment media are still suffering from whiplash over the announcement of Kamala Harris as a new Democrat candidate. I mean, it seems like just a few weeks ago, they were calling attacks on Biden's mental health cheap fakes. Now they have to pretend that Kamala Harris is cool and say that every single attack on her is bigoted.
I guess I would just talk to Americans and not individuals who are calling her a DEI and say we have an opportunity in this moment to be better than that. To just as much as you deserve to live and thrive in this country, so do I. And that is what the vice president represents. Now, you don't have to agree with her policy and how we get to a point to live and thrive, but you should see her humanity. You should see her hard work. You should see that in your neighbors, and we will see it in you.
Scott, I mean, before she was vice president, she was a prosecutor in San Francisco, the attorney general of California, U.S. senator. Is that the resume of a DEI hire, whatever even that means?
I believe she's qualified. I do think some of this, though, dates back to Joe Biden himself. I mean, remember, when he was picking a vice president back in 2020, if he didn't promise, he heavily implied publicly that his principal criteria for choosing a running mate were gender and then race. And he got a lot of pressure from Democrats to do that. And I think he unfairly stuck her with that when he went through his process because she is qualified. I think the correct way for Republicans to go after this candidacy, though, is to set all this aside and focus on what she said. She said crazy things during her 2020 short-lived campaign for president. Her record is standing with Joe Biden during an administration that has a mid-30s approval rating. You don't have to go down this road. You can say someone's qualified, and you can also say, and the reason she was chosen really is because she was a super liberal who has crazy liberal ideas that have led the country off into the ditch. That's the right way to politically attack it.
The selective amnesia on the left and establishment media is really something to behold. They brag incessantly about hiring people on the basis of victim status through DEI initiatives, then act like they have no idea what the phrase DEI hire means, even though they're claiming it's deeply offensive. The truth is they know exactly what it means. It means someone hired on the basis of DEI, which goes against meritocracy. I mean, that woman says we shouldn't be diminishing the accomplishments of people, but that's legitimately all they've done to Trump. According to them, every accomplishment for him is either due to corruption or stupid luck. Regardless, that wasn't the only instance of the media playing dumb. They also had to bring up J.D. Vance's controversial comment about cat ladies.
Again, sort of, that's weird. I mean, it's just sort of it's a kind of a surprising line of attack. What's wrong with cats?
I take great offense because I'm a childless dog lady. I'm not a cat person. I actually have a strong allergy to cats. But look, I love this country. I'm a former public school educator. I worked at nonprofits. My family loves this country. My sister loves this country. My friends who are childless love this country. That is not a qualification of whether or not you are a leader or whether or not you have a love for this country. It's absurd for J.D. Vance to make that argument. But again, I'm not surprised. I think, though, that what we're seeing, I agree with Scott. Scott and I agree with on this. Let's talk about policy. But when people go to identifying folks, they used to blame us of being the party of identity politics. But it seems like the Republicans are doing a lot of that right now, where they're using race and gender and whether or not you have a child or not as a disqualifying factor. Again, we can be better than that. But when people do that, Senator Booker just quoted one poem from Maya Angelou. I'll quote another quote from her, is that when people show you who they are, believe you. So there are a lot of Black, brown, white, childless people out there. And so when he's talking about Kamala Harris, he's also talking about you. I'm not sure that's how you build a winning coalition.
Ashley Allison, Scott Jennings, thanks so much. Coming up.
Once again, they know exactly what Vance is talking about here. He's talking about voluntarily childless liberals, or dinks as they call themselves, like Chelsea Handler. Miserable, selfish, crazy spinsters who have no interest beyond their own. People who not only don't want children, but seem to resent anyone who has them. We used to collectively mock people like that. Vance's comments obviously aren't meant to represent every person without a child, but as conservatives, why would we want people like I just described making policy decisions that affect us and our families? I mean, the left constantly talks about lived experiences and people of certain groups not being able to have opinions about laws predominantly affecting people of other groups. Well, you know what? Given the state of the world and our country and how we seem to be collectively treating children like second-class citizens, I think it's time the pendulum swung the other way for a change. But let me know what you think. Is the media playing dumb, or are they really that clueless? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye!